Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the KeSPA Cup, the first semi-final, and already it's proved to be an exciting one as Gen.G got off to a decent start, as you can see here on the bottom side of the map, but it was all KT from that point on.
Bot lane priority the Lucian provided was just doubled down upon by a bot lane focus that needed to be Gen.G's way to victory here. The moment that Olaf couldn't get anything done bot side and was getting counter-ganked again and again by a 2-level lead for the majority of the game by Umti, felt like things would eventually come that way, but just like the first game, there were hiccups along the journey. There was a lot of time for Gen.G to consider options and even pull off some surprising contests. It was only at the end that we could know for sure that we would enter the third game 1-1, and that means it's all up for grabs in what is usually the game that is won by the eventual victors of the best of 5.
And the really interesting thing to me on this side is which players do we see moving into game number 3 as well? Because Kingen was fantastic. Mia looked brilliant on this breakout performance on the Leona. And this iteration of KT, despite the amount of players that aren't on the original KT at all, you know, all these newcomers, Mia especially, being so impressive, just, we don't know what's going to come in game number 3. 40 minutes it took KT to win, but now we've got a best-of-3 series. A lot of damage from Gango, but it was all about the Zoe as far as the big bars of damage numbers.
Fly was the only one who was largely just farming it out. Didn't have kills, but had a lot of farm and a single kill to his name. Hadn't gone down, and just not enough. The poke damage couldn't actually delay for long enough. To a point, they did well, but we can see on your screen, no changes for either side in game number 3. So it wasn't just a flash in the pan. It wasn't, let's steal a victory with Kingen's Jace. That might get banned, so let's put back in Smeb. They're sticking with what worked in game number 2.
And you have to remember that there are a lot of bans that are necessary here for Gen.G. We'll have to see exactly which side both of these teams are on, as pick and ban is now upon us. Draven is going to be the first ban, and that indicates to us that we've got Gen.G for the first time on the blue side.
That means that with KT on red, they're going to have to be responsible for more bookkeeping than on blue's side, where you usually can try to pick up a slider like a Lucian at the first pick. It's been Lissandra first pick so far in this series. Gen.G probably will have Zoe left open to them, but at what cost is what we look to zoom in on game number 3. Lucian so far has been on the winning team, both sides. How did Gen.G approach this first pick? What are they reaching for? A jungle pick, perhaps? Maybe you could consider a jungle ban. Would be a nice one. And I like this Nocturne ban on the side against KT. Nocturne always kind of does his thing, and if you choose the right time to go in, you usually prosper. So given that KT's inaction around Umti in game number 1 was one of the reasons the thing fell apart so early, it's kind of been a series of jungle differences when it comes to the jungle that was ahead really did decide game 1 and 2.
And is it going to be Lissandra or the Akali to be banned here from KT? It will be neither, as Zoe is banned away by KT. So now we're going to be trading Lissandra, Akali. Will it be Kingen on the Akali this time around? Will BDD try his hand, or will Gen.G lock it away here first up? Or will it just be left alone? I imagine that now the trade is the Lissandra, and Aatrox goes begging as well.
And that's the thing, is that's the one that you didn't mention in the initial salvo, because you're always surprised to see Aatrox pop up.
Yeah, Aatrox sure, I wasn't expecting him to be available.
Aatrox blue side first pick has already shown to be almost an unlosable one. Griffin, for example, putting in the jungle and popping off with Aftershock Aatrox jungle was Tarzan. Could see that again tomorrow. The fact that it's such a multi-way flex means that I would have expected that to be the first rounder.
And another big
Aatrox
one.
and Irelia. BDD's Irelia almost certainly. Kingen or Umti on this Aatrox. Okay, that is...
Well, actually, it's a 2-way flex and a 3-way flex from KT if you're thinking technically.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of names, and I think BDD really fancies his Irelia. If the matchup gets a bit too hard for him, maybe he'll have to avoid, but... KT Rolster have a lot of damage on their side. Flex Assassins everywhere, Atlas. We're back at Worlds, baby, and here we go. And now both 80 carries say, where's my Ezreal button? There's a lot of bad guys, and I need to get away.
Exactly. Well, Lissandra's going to be picked up this time for the first time this series by Fly, but he has, of course, tried his hand already, and there's the Lee Sin once again for Peanut. It was banned in the second round by KT last time we saw it, and Gango thinking about that Lucian yet again. Will be locked in.
Lock it in. Do you ban Ezreal Kai'Sa here and just take away the stuff that Ruler has previously been falling back to? That is my wonderment here. I don't know if the Xayah ban is of high priority, but because Xayah and Rakan are both open, that sometimes does put you in a bit of an interesting situation. So KT, how do you approach the bans? You know you're banning bot laners, so...
I feel like KeSPA Ezreal makes the most sense, but no. Going to be targeting the Alistar from Life, and of course he was brilliant on the pick, but I thought Mia possibly could have gone for it right after this draft if Gen.G hadn't abandoned away. Of course, also probably wanting to prioritize the bottom side of the map unless they want to get rid of jungle options, but the Aatrox could go there. I mean, you just don't necessarily know where to ban against KT at this point. Maybe not mid laners, because BDD is likely to be on the Aurelia.
You do wonder if Gen.G throw in 2 bans, does Umti just play Aatrox? Because you're thinking of, okay, what can farm it out against the Lee Sin and do fine? The Sejuanis of the world aren't really there anymore, even after her readjustments. So there aren't too many level 6 junglers that are kind of in the meta that you could consider picking here for Umti. So Aatrox might just be the decision there. If you keep banning them, Gragas was one of those fallbacks. It's taken away. The Nocturne, as we know, was banned earlier, and he's not going to play Kindred again, that's for sure. So let's see Gen.G. They banned the Elise. Cool to see an Elise bounce. No Elise picks, but Elise definitely in solo queue has been doing very well.
And also when you've got both physical solo lanes, theoretically on paper, if you're going to put both of these picks into the lanes, then Elise would have been a perfect augmentation for that. Now KT with their decision to make. They banned the Rakan, so their bottom lane focus was certainly there. That's a Swain,
that makes sense.
Papa.
I'm liking this one. So what I was going to say is, yes, but that means Aatrox jungle and a magic damage top laner. So I was thinking of, okay, what top lane is going to be? And it could be BD on the mid lane Swain. It is a flex once again, even further here. So we'll have to track to the last moment. Ezreal Tom is taken for the sort of safety. We talked about the Ezreal button when Aurelia and Aatrox were already selected.
Yep.
It's going to be very valid. So Gen.G go for a bot lane. They played with Core JJ all the time with the Ezreal Tom.
In fact, whenever they could get it, and they won most of the time as well.
What's Mia's support is not something I have a huge amount of insight into here. With everything that's involved, Thresh, for example, is open.
Wow.
Pike is the more aggressive Thresh. We're going for some flair with this last pick. I'm liking Mia in this series.
Right? I feel like Mia's out to get new fans, and this is certainly a way to do it.
When KT locks in Pike, you have to assume every day of the week that it's going to be Snowflower trying to go for a flashy play. But it's Mia this time. He got to watch Mata for the entirety of last year, and he's got some flair about him as well.
And also, Mata was the player that picked up the Pike so far this tournament as well. They found a win, but it was pretty interesting in lane from Mata. We'll see whether Mia has a better performance, but I believe it was teamed up with the Lucian that time as well for Teddy in that game.
So the trades here are very decent for Gen.G's duo lane, but the all-in, if you just turn your all-in onto Tahm Kench, remember that Grey Health has no positive interaction with the ultimate from the Pike. If you are beyond a certain health total, not effective health, just purely how many hit points do you have, shields or no, you will die. So given that interaction, feels like they want to return to game number 2 and try to style with the Lucian bot lane.
Yeah, but will you be able to do that against a ruler in life is the question. It is a fresh game now, and Pike Lucian is a little bit more styled than that of the Lucian and the Leona from the last series, and Ezreal a different beast, especially when teamed up with Tahm Kench.
All right, we end up with BDD on the mid lane Swain. He is with Yukala. Big Swain mid lane players. They go with the Aurelia top side against the Akali, but I want to see jungle Aatrox one more time. Will it be Aftershock again? Because Tarzan definitely inspired the pick.
Yep, he looked absolutely brilliant. But ladies and gentlemen, game number 3. It's all tied up one apiece. Who will go to match point? Let's find out right now. The Gen.G fans certainly out in force, as you could hear in the fan chants. And already, first CS going over to Gango. Taking down that ward in the right position was KT.
Color me surprised that we ended up with Akali versus Aurelia top. Not sure many of our fans would know this. Definitely if you play a lot of solo queue, you will. There was a time where Akali's only viable matchup in her previous iteration was Aurelia. It's a matchup that she's actually always done very, very well in. Was Aurelia. Even with the rework, the Shroud does a lot of good things. Especially if you can extend the duration as long as possible and drop the aggro of Aurelia loses her passive stacks or can't get value of her ultimate, then Akali can turn around after the Shroud and do some good things. The skill matchup that's, I would say, is sliding to the side of Akali. And that means that they could have gone with Swain and just had to try to farm through. There was people who believed that Swain was one of the counters to the Akali.
Yep.
But they go with Swain mid lane, they go with BDD, and he's gone Aftershock. They have triple Aftershock on KT.
That is a lot of not dying for the first few seconds of an engagement. And if we know anything about KT, it's the fact that they like to have these scrappy, short skirmishes. Sort of fits them as far as a Keystone is concerned. Going to be the Raptor start here for Umti. And we know that Aatrox is pretty good at that. If you've been playing some solo queue, you know that them starting on the Raptor camp, even if they're a mid laner, is certainly something that they've been doing.
The thing I was most struck by, because there was a lot of Aatrox in solo queue, but we weren't seeing it in the KeSPA Cup until yesterday, but the thing I was struck by Tarzan's Clear is he was level 5 and only had a talisman and was full health. So a very sustained and quick clear from the Aatrox with just scuttles and things sprinkled in. Means that you got a lot of options here. Flexible gank pass, the Aftershock means you can look for a turret dive pretty easily as well. So Aatrox, wherever he goes, inspires fear, and for good reason.
And also, he played him like he was the hard carry, like he was the top laner. And I feel like if anyone can also step into those shoes, it's Umti. Umti can certainly do that. He puts games on his back many, many times. A lot of junglers we've got here in the LCK especially, and formerly in the LCK, of course, this season, like Ambition, like Score, very good at playing that utility mode. That is not how Umti plays the jungle.
I want to also continue on this discussion of Keystones for KT, because notice that Kingen doesn't have the one that everyone locks in every time on Aurelia. There's no Conqueror there, and Aurelia may be the best Conqueror abuser next to, say, a Draven, for example, of anyone. Probably is the best. Has gone press the attack, because like we mentioned, some of those trades are trickier. Going for burst trades to stop QV being at high health totals rather than just Conqueror abusing. Because you look at the enemy team, there's not a lot of beef there that Conqueror is fully going to beat. And when it comes to lane trades, the press the attack helps a lot more than Conqueror, specifically against Akali.
I actually really like it. Of course, Conqueror, not quite as ridiculous as it first was. Conqueror in its heyday was ridiculous.
I think it's pretty ridiculous on Akali, sorry, on Aurelia and Draven. But this is a very, very creative, but I really like the choice here. I really do like when Keystones are matchup specific and not just playstyle specific. When it's both, then there's some cool things can come through, as we see in this particular game.
Well, KeSPA also going for a bit of a curious start with the Doran's Blade as well, so maybe not showing all of the respect here to Kingen, because a shield would often be the choice for the Akali. See whether it pays off. At the moment, only a couple of CS is going to be the difference between the two.
He is here early in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Fly does know that, because of course you get told that he's going to miss the cannon creep regardless.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Successful roam.
That's a beautiful roam coming in from Mia. Out of the lane, but of course it was a bit of a back from Gango. Goes back, grabs a couple of long swords. Has a control ward there as well, so certainly doing his bit for his team.
No death from below active yet, so bot lane probably going to be pretty non-interactive. Trying to deny an Ezreal has frustrated 80 carries forever.
Yes. I feel like since the dawn of League of Legends, is Kingen does at least have that Ionian Fervor charge, but can't capitalize on it with any of that healing opportunity. He's just going to go back home and see what he can actually purchase here on his way towards his Trinity Forces. Okay, not going to be able to get it here as Fly. Does make it back to his claw. BDD with some damage, but both of them probably looking to clear out some minion waves and head back in with the teleports.
I think we could see some really titanic fights in this game. It feels like the sort of game where 80 carries are going to be very much secondary carries, because there's so much mid-range dive and threat on both sides. Zone controls for days. Deletion damage.
Oh,
that's a nice look.
Yeah, it's a really nice look, but not enough. As Devour is, of course, there. I was ready to get real excited, Papa, but then the Ezreal got eaten. Wasn't happening. However, still trade. Feeling like it was in favor of KT. These Qs stop landing from Ruler. This doesn't actually get the proc on the W. Down takes a lot of damage. Double tap in. Okay, not going to be able to get the stun, but now Ruler in a rough spot. Has to use the heal, and Fly's making his way down the flash forward. Life could gobble up Mia if he wants to, but he just gets the stun. Still able to get in there, and that's first blood. Going over to Ruler. Gen.G taking control of the bottom lane. This is what we expected, and this is terrifying for KT fans.
Some really good baiting from the side of Gen.G and reactions from Fly to be ahead of the play. There's no ability there for BDD to join. Watch the replay as this starts up. Lissandra's already back in mid lane. Starts to roam down, and when Mia goes in this far, that's where there were multiple times he could have walked away. By the time he chooses to flash, he's just too far up the lane. Lucian has to leave his support behind. That was just too bold from the duo lane of KT, even though things were looking so good at the start.
Yeah, beginning of that trade certainly did look good. Gen.G now with a slight gold advantage, about 500, but KT not going to be too worried. KeSPA himself all right. His ruler, not a lot of mana available here. That's max range, and in comes Umti. That is the kill, and so easily provided by Mia, who's having a day out.
Didn't say that started. That was already after the recall there, so it wasn't like he was greeting for a recall timing. Just Umti comes down. Mia hits the Bone Skewer, and no ultimate required. Just seeing him come in, ruler too far down the lane because the minions are being frozen. I guess he was trying to interact with Gango, get some Klepto, and, well, to the death chamber goes the Ezreal.
Yep. No flashes required. And the likes of Umti still has that available to him. So there's the pullback with the Never Move. Fly taking a fair bit of damage here as they trade aftershocks.
Counting cooldowns and then going all in is going to be some really fun mid-games. If this game's even, because any cooldown being down, I'm talking about a Shroud, I'm talking about the Q on Umti on this Aatrox, and then there's punishment, temporary stasis, and just a hell of a lot of damage everywhere on the Rift. We have all these champions that do insane damage, but also have indirect tankiness from things like Shroud and things like just sheer mobility of an Aurelia and Aftershock. The temporary tankiness rather than the true tanks are everywhere. Some more trading.
Yep, KeSPA a lot more burst here. Throws out the ultimate, actually, as Vanguard's edge flies forward. KeSPA tries to use the ult to get it as there's the flash forward. KeSPA still tanking the minions. And Umti, he's just dashing forward. He's so terrifying. Flashes because he didn't need it to kill Ruler and picks up his second kill.
Doesn't pick up Tara aggro either. Here's Peanut. He's sticking around topside. You're going to try and take down Umti.
No teleport available from Kingen or BDD, but Peanut will go back, and Umti, he's so damn strong. Now all of his health's back because of the fact that Aatrox just gets it all back.
And Peanut doesn't lead with kick and misses his Q, so he's not able to get anything done. Like you say, he even loses a health trade on the back end there. With authority, does Umti disengage that particular fight. Nice kill picked up by KT. This time they're the one ahead of a lane trade.
Yep, now we see why it's Aatrox on the ban list almost every single game. Cassiopeia the other one. She's actually 1-1 so far in the KeSPA Cup, but otherwise she's just been straight up banned. It's only 2 times she's ever been let through.
Yeah, the sample size of games, that means the win rate doesn't matter, but the champion is certainly super, super strong. Cassio in basically every role is very, very powerful, so goodbye Cassio for this entire tournament. Might as well be globally banned.
I think second there, though, is looking to be the Aatrox at the moment in a lot of different roles. Top lane was where he started, but Tarzan showing that jungle, and now Umti as well, is certainly a pretty good spot for him.
This was the definitely bonanza of World's flex picks everywhere draft, where the Akali first pick seems like an overreach with everything else that was up. Aatrox's first pick was our first expectation if we could have just sat down and really understood everything that was up.
Mia is the king of max range hooks.
Well, Korea hasn't really got a Pike player to speak of.
Yeah.
You know, someone like Hilasan, Vedius, of course, talking about he might have been the best Pike player in the world. We didn't really have one to offer. There was people you could assume would be good at Pike, but actually when it came to in-game
people who
performance...
played a lot of Pike in solo queue, things like that, but just never really translated it onto the professional Rift.
So given that, I'm ready for a Pike. I guess Effort would have been the closest that we've had. He had up games and down games on that Pike.
Some weird combos as well, as Gango down to about half health here, uses the Q, uses the heal. It's tagged by the ultimate, but otherwise we'll be okay. And in comes Umti. This is what you'd be terrified about. Doesn't have the ultimate available, but Peanut, he's going to get pulled back. Wants to get in on the Q, but doesn't actually opt in for it. A little bit too far away is Gango.
Chilling Smite into the first Q from Aatrox is so scary. The moment that he gets the movement speed slow, you know you're taking 700 damage.
Yeah.
And there's very little you can do about it.
The 700 is guaranteed, but it's likely it's even more.
T himself slid over, I don't believe he was spotted. They know the ward is there, so he's actually not spotted here by Peanut, and he might be face-checking Peanut very soon.
It actually gets behind him. They understand now that no one is doing the dragon, and he's going to clear out this control. So ships in the night a little bit between the two junglers.
But they both knew there was definitely looming terror on
yes.
both sides. And KT come away with potentially 3 wards here. It's not a control ward, but they know there is a regular ward placed in the brush. It's been pinged out 3 times now. Elsewhere, incremental CS leads to BDD and Kingen. Top lane matchup, mostly because of the death that came through the Akali, allowing for a little bit of ballooning lead there, but a good look for the Aurelia.
Yep. CS certainly an advantage of Peanut in the jungle, but otherwise it's all about KT. As, okay, you're going to get that spike pretty easily, Mia. Now just going to be clearing out minions. Not going to be soloing down 1v2 or anything like that.
And if you compare champions, even though it's just damage and utility, there is actually some overlap. Aurelia and Akali, divers who have temporary forms of tankiness. Lee Sin and Aatrox probably have the least overlap, but they're very much mid-range threats. AoE is the story for Lissandra and Swain more often than not. And the bot lanes are both kind of looking at all the damage topside and saying, oh boy, I hope I can join at the right time. So because there is that overlap, it's not quite Lissandra Urgot versus Lissandra Urgot blind pick, but the spirit of both comps is similar, so we can return to our earlier analysis points of the vision line should probably be the most important thing here, because it's who lands their pick CC and burst damage first that usually comes out ahead.
Yeah, and also, it does mean that Umti's lead is so much more pivotal as well, because now that things are similar, as soon as you get any sort of a lead, does mean that you can abuse it so much more readily. At the moment, Peanut the only one out on the map, as Umti went back for a bit of a base, as Ninja Tavi as well, as his Warrior completed and a Ruby Crystal. See what he builds towards. Of course, cooldown reduction is what you want as an Aatrox, so Black Cleaver certainly could be the next choice.
You script together the sort of items you see in lane. Death's Dance at some point would be lovely if you can afford it.
Yep.
Warrior's nice, and it's one of the reasons why we had a lot in solo queue at least of mid lane smite Aatrox, is that Warrior Enchant is super AD heavy for the amount of gold you pay for it.
Yep.
And thus, getting that efficiency from the jungle or the mid lane is feeling great. Umti walks up here, he knows something's happening.
That spot lane 3v3 party as Gango does have the culling now armed, but there's the knockback. Life does have a stopwatch, and he is going to be able to avoid the ultimate coming in from Mia. Now Fly jumps forward, Cube's in as well. It's a 5v5, but it's Fly that should be falling for us. No! He's even got the Proto Belt. Vanguard's edge.
Someone's
Is it
dead.
enough to get Kingen in there? They have to dive the turret as BDD, the Demonic Ascension, flies forward, and now we've got death from below, and Mia wants to get the resets. Fly is going to go down in the end, but doesn't get it with the ultimate, which is the important part. That stops the ultra resets.
The patience from KT to wait for their moment, they knew BDD would get the Tahm Kench down and the resets could begin. They outfought them there, they had the positioning advantage. Gen.G couldn't disengage fast enough, and KT finds so much of a lead in what was such an even game.
That's an explosion of money onto this roster, as let's have a look at how it all started on the bottom side.
The table setting was so extended. The moment you saw all the teleports, which are now uncancelable if you're joining us for the first time, you knew this was going to be a party in the bot lane. As it all goes down, though, notice the formation KT's in, being able to kite, and there's no threat on Gango. Umti has his ultimate and Aftershock. The Aurelia can dive in. Life gets low, but he wasn't able to stasis out of the death from below the first time out. He had to stasis down. They could chase for more kills, and KT Rolster come out with the profit of what was a very entertaining bot lane fight.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And it's now a 2-1-1 Pyke as well. Pyke from behind basically does nothing. Pyke from ahead feels pretty damn fantastic. And now Mia gonna help take down this dragon. Kingen sets himself back up towards the top side of the map. And that Trinity Force is looming. BDD looking at those 2 items that you want on the Swain. As soon as the Zhonya's comes in, he's team fight ready and then some, because that means that the Rod of Ages most likely fully stacked as well. Peanut, not too many options with the control wards available here for KT's top laner Kingen. He has to slink back into his jungle.
He was spotted on a control ward as he was walking up, but with the Abyssal Voyage coming in, they're trying to stop it back here.
Well, Kingen trying to keep himself alive, does get a nice double stun as Cube. He's underneath the turret, but he's still, of course, obscured. And that is going to be that kill easily taken But mid lane, going down, Demolish is in there for BDD, of course, on this Swain, and more damage being done to the inner turret on the bottom side of the map as well. Monty has to use his Umbral dash to get himself out of the way. The least impressive dash in the game.
It was definitely the first kind of rookie mistake by Kingen when it comes to pushing up too far. Hitting the side lane and being 4-man ganked, that's a formality. He presses W and hopes he's going to waste some time. He didn't need to be that far up when they had no information. And yes, they will out-trade because they're ahead elsewhere. But, again, the bigger takeaway should be just don't walk up when you don't need to.
I feel like opening the map, though, does help KT a little bit. So there is a little bit of overflow effect. KT are allowed to play a little bit more with reckless abandon, and this is one of the opportunities they have. A long way to get towards these turrets, and Umti doesn't even care about them as the Q is being stacked up. Cube trying to answer here, but a lot of the damage is being soaked by this Aatrox that can't actually die. Does run out here. The World Ender not going to be utilized to full effect, and Fly going to come in, look for his own Demolish proc in the mid lane.
Bit of a Demolish party here. Everyone has. Doesn't matter if they're ranged or melee, they're demolishing something.
It's Demolish and Aftershocks seem to be sponsoring this particular game. Ruler, though, he's been pretty quiet so far, looking for that 2-item spike here. Does have a cheeky little longsword as well, but wants that mana immune to start stacking this tier in earnest.
And we should return to pre-match expectations for a moment, because what do we say KT versus Gen.G was likely to evolve into? Top side carry versus bot side carry. We didn't think it was going to be Kingen and BDD, but it's not like Kingen's playing tanks, right? He's going for the carries as well. In this game, we are seeing the top side all on high agency, high damage, AoE champions, and the bot laners on both sides are deprioritized in a game like this. It's so hard to win the team fight because of Ruler or Gango. It's more likely that diving that champion and a fail in execution by the diver is going to actually be the reason a team fight goes one way or the other. So with bot lane deprioritized, with this being so much eyes on BD, Umti, and Kingen, talking about that side of the coin, maybe this is a draft that does favor KT Rolster.
See whether Shelly actually does get taken down here. You can see Umti has just started it, but it's very late in the piece. 18.5 minutes. Doesn't have very long to try and knock her down.
Come on, Alice, not 19.5 minutes. He'll be fine.
Hey, that's true. Fly here. BDD could offer some help, but it looks like the Aatrox should be all right. Just knock her eyes out. Gango is going to come up here, so Shelly will be taken. It's just a little bit late. Not going to be getting any turret plates or anything like that. They're long gone. Scouted out, but a little bit late. It's Peanut, only by short margin. And Umti, you can see he's a Lee Sin player. He knows that that extra range added to the Q is only just a little bit further.
See if Mia goes for pretty standard lethality items. So much lethality scaling was loaded into the kit since we last saw the Pyke in Korea.
Yep. This is why he saw a stint in the mid lane as See You Later Fly pops out with that claw. Should be tower pretty simply taken down. BDD does have a Demolish proc here available to help as well. Now we'll see whether Shelly can get escorted towards another turret.
He definitely has the mainline on his items more than what's available to Kingen. He doesn't have Trinity Force yet, so trade's not looking as amazing, but it'll be coming in soon. His CS is very good. Secondary charge gets in. You know, you're so frustrated if you Fly. 1500 minimum damage on that charge. This was one of the changes when we had Rift Herald tweaked a little bit at the start of the year. Mia's been really impressive coming in. Again, has nowhere near the resume of Snowflower, but has looked quite impressive when they've decided to include him. I like the QSS purchase here. He's very much about fishing with bone skewers and then nothing stopping him when the reset party is possible with the death from below. So given that, QSS now, a lethality item, a Duskblade later is probably going to be the choice here for me.
And we'll see whether he goes towards a Guardian Angel relatively early as well. I could imagine that working out quite effectively for the Pyke, especially now that he wants to keep himself alive with this QSS that he's already purchased. But really, really difficult to keep your mental in order if you're Mia as well. Think about what you have to do. You have to stand in Marta's shoes and then also stand behind Snowflower and then come in a game 2 where you got basically bodied in game 1 as a team. So very impressive what he's managed to do so far today.
And I think, honestly, this will be, for at least the KeSPA Cup and probably most of LCK Spring, as QV is going to escape from that one. The way for KT is just a lot of frequent changes bot lane, because I don't think they know. Again, the fact that they signed Gango so late I don't think they're 100% clear how they're going to move forward with this bot lane. They're trying to learn it on the job. So keep tweaking it till you see something you like. And I got to say, I think I'm really liking Gango and Mia so far when it comes to the best 2 duo.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Gango on the Lucian as well. I feel like early game carries does suit how he plays this one. Despite having a decent time on the KeSPA, he certainly wasn't the problem in game 1.
And if you're KT, you say, well, if Gango's drawing a Draven and a Lucian ban, that's a whole lot of champions for everyone else to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see what happens when you let bans through. Umpty gets on an Aatrox, and then you have a whole world of hurt to deal with.
And on a different day, it would have been BDD Smebble on that Aatrox.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Silver linings are plentiful if KT continue to find performance like this. So far so good from Gango, trying to channel some of his great performances in Japan. In the LJL, he was really a hard carry player. You know, he was on the, I believe, 3rd place team over there, but definitely top 2 in some of the splits in 2018. And give him gold, and he will put out a huge amount of damage. He was previously Sketch, who played over on Samsung White, so he is, of course, known
a long time ago.
by some players. He only played a Masters, so look, at the end of the day, I think only one of those games in AD carry. He played Masters as jungle for some reason. Sometimes you look at Masters and you wonder what was happening there. That was
also, I believe, was over on UT, wasn't he? Unlimited Potential
yes,
in the LPL
over in
for
the
a little
LPL.
while.
For Korean audiences, that was kind of his one-time design. It's a name that everyone's known, and what the big takeaway was when his name was finally revealed as being signed is Draven main and Hyelo, and that was really all KT could be looking for that late into the window.
See, being a main like that certainly works out for a lot of teams. With Fly, this isn't working out for him at all. Jungle versus mid lane, you'd expect would go the other way around, but Fly going to lose out on that trade. This blue buff should be the reward for BDD. Gets it with some Sith Lightning.
And the spotting that his W provides and the control ward line, because KT has won the last skirmish, means a lot of map pressure here coming in from KT.
Well, Mia just getting poked to high heaven.
Right,
be able to get, thankfully, a lot of it back.
That's why mid lane Pyke is so annoying, because his passive actually is just so good. It's better than Tahm Kench when it comes to the Grey health.
Yeah.
A refund, that's for sure.
And you also get to scout for where their wards are.
Feels good.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. Pretty disgusting, to be perfectly honest.
See where the item timings are at now between the two. Some 2 big mainline items, and then Kingen chasing on to QV. Watch for the ult.
Yep, looking very aggressive actually as QV moves out of his Shroud, but holds onto his E, so has a little bit more gap promotion ability.
I like Ruler's thought here. Again, we've seen quite a lot of double tier Ezreal, and it's not just the scaling part, it's the, well, I kind of have to build QSS, get a shield from a Seraphs, and shoot out my ultimate. His ult will probably be his biggest contribution to a lot of these fights.
Yeah.
Given just how much threat there is on the side of KT.
We've seen him do some interesting things, actually. Ruler likes to go Blade of the Ruin King, even if he's got the double tier build. I personally like the Hextech Gunblade. I like Sork Boots as well, but he often moves to more of a defensive boot choice.
Okay, but Atlas, you don't like playing AD carry against the lineup KT has, so
yeah.
Basically, anyone turns on him of the top 4 champions, he's going to be half health. So he needs the lifesteal, not to just be poked out of a fight. He's kind of like a Zoe in another game where you just can't afford to be less than half health, because if you are, then you're just useless. You can't even poke around.
We'll see what his build is going to evolve into. Of course, Ruler very creative with that one.
Look at BDD's build. This is BDD, you know what it stands for, the big damage dealer build. Yep. He's going for a hat. He doesn't even have a Zonia's or a stopwatch.
Yeah, he hasn't fixed his timepiece yet. He's just gone straight to the store and said, nah, need me a new top hat, my friend. Sort me out. Me watches in the shop. It can stay there.
Gentleman Swain, and he doesn't buy a sweet timepiece, he buys a sweet hat.
At least the wizard has his staff to begin with. If we learned anything in Lord of the Rings, it was that you would not part a wizard from his staff.
And the advantage of a build like this is that for 9,600 gold, for a 25-minute Swain, nobody on Gen.G will expect the amount of damage. You've never played against it, right? Because you don't play against second item death cap Swain ever. So he's just going to do 200, 300 more damage. Yeah, a full rotation's maybe 500 damage, more than you could ever assume. Everyone has muscle memory at the highest level, challenger, professional play, of basically how much damage you expect. That's going to be off in this game, Atlas, when it comes to the Swain.
Cheeky little knock-up onto Fly. He actually has to be relatively careful here, as he will get pulled back. Mia wants to find the Bone Skewer, but Fly wants to find an engage. Remember, Abyssal Voyage means that Gen.G can follow up on some CC, and Fly can keep himself safe for a long time. KeSPA being quiet this game, does have those 2 kills from earlier on in that skirmish. He was the beneficiary of a lot of that. Has been very quiet since then. Morellonomicon is what he's pieced together since. Okay, Ruler taking the first bout of damage here as Vision of Empire right on top of Fly, who gets pulled back in yet again. Mia is the first one to fall down though. Fly finds it as now Umti trying to dive forward. KT Rolster though haven't found the fight that they were looking for. World Ender almost actually just cancelled out at the end of it as in goes KeSPA. You can see the low health members. He wants to get further forward. That's a real long stun coming in there from Kingen. KeSPA still just so hungry. Peanut fishing for the Q, but Gen.G, I don't think they're going to be able to find too much more now that KT's under the turret.
Good chasing on this one. Gengo's health bar is low. They will not go for anything too greedy. Kingen was so out of position. His only contribution to the fight was an E over the wall. He was at the enemy Raptor pit and could never commit to it. Therefore, his Aurelia might not have been there. Basically wasn't there. Gen.G go 1 for 1, but now they're on Drake, and here's a TP.
Yep, still looking for more as Kingen dives forward. Peanut tries to get over the wall and does so. And Vanguard's Edge is thrown in, but there's just no follow-up, so a bit of a waste of an R button there from Kingen. Looking like the rocky one here on KT so far this series since the swap out from Smeb.
If Kingen does anything this fight, KT continue to win. Remember, KT come into this with a huge lead. Now the game is playing up, but watch Kingen at the bottom while we see Umti on the left of the screen doing so much. There he is, wasting time. He's wasting time, and we've seen Mundo's run in and 1v4 for a while. But if your carries aren't doing damage, your Mundo's health bar going down didn't contribute anything. The Aatrox can't contribute anything this game in that particular fight because the Aurelia is just a passenger.
And Pyke, completely useless. If you die before there are any options with that death from below, you feel like you don't have a job in a team fight. He's very much a damage-based support as Fly just hops out of the brush, I think, unless that was another visual bug. Seen a lot of players do some weird stuff that they haven't actually done.
It's the KeSPA Cup, so while other people will be mad during the LCK, can we scrutinize or can we not? It's KeSPA Cup, so it's funny.
I think we'll be fine.
KeSPA backs away.
I have a feeling that Kingen knows.
But this is pro play, and it's always that they know, that he knows, that she knows, that they think, that they think. So the next levels are abundant. KT say, well, we scuffed that one up. How about we just go for some Baron control? That's a bit easier.
Yep, and there's a dude with a teleport on the bottom side of the map and a dude without one. So let's get some vision around the Baron area. One thing that's been trolling me, Papa, is the fact that Ardent Blaze, the end of it, with this skin, looks a lot like Death from Below. So I feel like Mia's throwing out ults everywhere.
Well,
but he's not.
That's a bug we'll definitely have to investigate. This situation is one that, like you mentioned, calls up KeSPA. They have a TP advantage. KT should be able to force the play here on the enemies. Let's look at the collateral damage summoner-wise. Peanut's threat level down, no flash on him. Fly also can't just get to Pyke and kill him before he actually commits to the fight. Meanwhile, not the same kind of summoner damage on the side of KT. BDD will be a little bit more waddling, and Mia is without flash. But they do have flash on Gango, Umti, and Kingen. So given all that information on the summoner lead, this should actually be a pretty hairy moment for Gen.G when it comes to contesting the Baron.
Yeah, it could be a scary one. Bottom side of the map is Kingen, but he's got the teleport available. True Shot Barrage used to check this Baron pit. We'll notice that it hasn't been started just yet.
One more blue trinket left for the Lissandra, and then they're out of spot checks on the side of Gen.G. They do have 40% CDR, so the ultimate comes back fast from the Ezreal.
Umti over the top, looking for KeSPA, finds the first Q. Infernal Chains are there. That's going to get the E out and doesn't quite get the Umbral Dash into the second charge of the Q. That could have been very dangerous.
He wanted either an Akali ult or the Tahm Kench Devour, but gets neither. Kingen pushes bot side, but Lissandra has to match, and Lissandra's going to wave clear on the turret and not commit to the lane any further. Lissandra can't answer Aurelia as the game goes on in long lane. She will be chased down in spite of her usual ability to open space.
And it's going to get worse and worse as well. We know Aurelia's scaling ability is Peanut down to about half health. This is not the player you want to lose, as now Death from Below is going to seal the deal. Mia will wander back to the Baron pit after gifting BDD a kill's worth of gold.
He's too far up. He knows Aatrox is bot side, so he thinks he's fine to poke in his head, but the ward placed earlier and BDD's Death Cap do the rest. That means no smite for 30 seconds, no unsealed spellbook in range. Life does have one. Gen.G can buy time, they have a lot of damage, so starting the Baron is still an element of risk for KT.
Well, Mia's the one checking here as KeSPA wants to try and get some damage onto him. Not going to find stuns, presses all of his buttons, and checks out to see where Gen.G are. Gango now with the culling, knows that KeSPA doesn't have another Twilight Shroud, and now KT looking for the backline. Kingen trying to get the resets. He hasn't died yet, but does finally go down as Ruler picks him up live now with the Devourer available, and Ruler over the edge. Now still able to dish out some damage. Gango too far forward. Ruler, have you done it again? And I think the answer might be yes, it's B2D. He does still have a lot of damage, but that's the triple. The Ezreal is keen on carrying Gen.G back into this series.
And KT Rolster Kingen out of the first fight. This time he commits, but there's no one behind him. He gets no work done. KT with a man advantage, lose a team fight against Gen.G. Peanut shows up and can't believe what happened.
Well, B2D is now still very scary, but Ruler, he's going to ignore it. That's an unofficial quadra kill on the Ezreal. So much damage potential now with this double tier build. He'll have that Seraph so soon. Actually, in fact, had it for that fight. That's why he was just tearing them to shreds, and why this Baron didn't last very long at all.
But all the dominoes lined up, Atlas. I want to be there and celebrate Ruler. We've been doing it all this tournament, but watch what happens with KT. They've chunked someone out. It's a 5v4, and Kingen just suicides in the backline. He does nothing. He basically dies instantly in this fight, and then Life can open up space, and in a 5v4 with an aggressive TP, KT's communication, not having Smeb in the lineup, not having Score in the lineup, is really poor. This is an awful team fight by KT. And when Ruler is this tanky and can have so much space on the enemy, it's no surprise that he picks up 4 kills.
Yep, not a lot of options. And now if we have a look at the gold, it's switched around. 4,000 in favor of Gen.G, Baron buff on their side, so only going to be extending this lead.
Gen.G gifted a Baron here. KT had so much to run of the play in this game. Definitely going to say thank yous to Kingen if Gen.G take down this game number 3. Kingen
and that's
himself.
a six-item Ruler as well.
Yep.
Picked up the Guardian Angel as he went back to the shop. That was outright.
Yes, 1,600 gold now.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice, says Ruler.
This has been a positive addition to my video gaming experience.
KT Rolster was so far ahead in this game, but this is where the bounties come in, and suddenly there's a throw, 1 million gold everywhere, and maybe a dead Gango.
Well, Gango does at least have some pretty quick fingers on that QSS, so he's going to get himself out of the Frozen Tomb very fast. What the heck? Okay, Umti didn't even have time to press the World Ender. So much damage coming out of Ruler. Mia flashes the right direction, but KeSPA says nope. He's going to pick that up with the Q all too easily, and I think this game has just gone to hell in a handbasket for KT Rolster.
Oh, some mental boom here for KT now. This game's just going to end in one go after being ahead for so long in a great spot with no options and a 5v4. KT Rolster are going to lose game 3.
Yep, and it's looking like Gen.G moving into set point in such a great mental position. On the back of Ruler, that's how they do it. Vanguard's Edge thrown out just for some fun as B2D also, he had an R button to press. He's going to do so, but these turrets are not staying alive. The Nexus to follow suit. It was such a good early game from KT. Mia was looking like he was going to have the series of his life, but Gen.G, they got one window, and they jumped all the way through it, all 5 members.
That was a highway robbery from Gen.G in game number 3. Some smiles there, some concern. Complicated emotions because they'll feel good about winning that game, but not how they played it out until that moment. Kingen and the new teleport, uncancelable, a donation to the side of Gen.G. I think you have to bring in Smeb for the next game because there was the one team fight he watched and there was the one team fight he lost for his team.
Yep.
And he's a young player. It's important that he has moments like this and bounces back from them, but it might be a while till we see Kingen again.
I have a feeling you might be right, Papa. If they're going to win this series, it's going to be a certain uphill battle against the Gen.G squad. You can see the smiles fly on your screen right here, looking pretty comfortable after what felt like a steal of a game number 3. And when you're given a game number 3 like that, you now have training wheels for the next one, and then you're into the pivotal game.
There's given a game 1 and there's given a game 3, and in a best of 5, that is so different. So
ridiculous.
Backs against the wall now. Ruler cleans it up. We know he can. His class is everlasting, and Gen.G's lead might be enough to propel them in to be our first finals team.
And it could be Gen.G against one of Damwon or Griffin based on what happens tomorrow. Super excited to see which of these former Challenger teams, of course, Griffin with a split in the LCK to remember, but Damwon looking for the same thing. They're wanting to be the Royal Roaders as well. They've said it themselves. Have to go up against Griffin first in order to face potentially Gen.G. They can win the next game, or KT if they can perform a miracle comeback. Oh man, Papa, it's getting a bit scary to be a KT fan. It always has been. Being excited has been something to be terrified of.
Do KT have another rabbit to pull out of a hat? That Jace was good in game number 2, but game 3 was pretty lame.
Not so good. Maybe it's time for Smev to come back. We'll find out if he does after this short break.